I am 14 years old, 15 years old, and I'm going to this youth group where there's like hundreds of kids going, high schoolers. I think I was the only junior hire. I pretended like I was 16. I wasn't saved, okay? So don't judge me. I wasn't saved at the time, but I was going to this youth group. My parents would they would force me to go to this thing. Obviously, my uncle was Vaughn. He was teaching this youth group of about 100 kids that would just show up, and they're all sinners. I mean, sinners. Like, it was bad, And I liked going, actually, even though I was forced to go, I actually liked going. I didn't like the message, but afterward, they would all go hang out and do sinner stuff. And so I was like, okay, this is fun. And there were the cool kids at all of the schools. West Hills High School, Santana High School, and Santee. They were the cool ones, and I got to be hanging out with them. I got to meet them and be a part of it. And so I'm like, oh, so I was there for all the wrong reasons, right? And I remember Bond saying, later on, we didn't know what was happening at the time, but he said, that he was just completely dismayed with what was going on because he saw the sin. And he was preaching the gospel every single week. We knew the gospel. We could preach the gospel probably better than a lot of Christians at the time, and a lot of us weren't even saved because he preached it every single week. We would almost make, he would do the whole, God's on one side and man's on the other side, and then Jesus stood in the gap and died on the cross, and I'm telling you, he knew it like verbatim, right? And I remember he told us later on, that he fell on his face and said, Lord, I'm done. Like, what's the point? All these kids are coming, but no one's getting saved. No one's coming to know you. What's the point? And I think something like he said, I'm going to give it 2 more months because, there's sin taking place. So what's the point? And all of a sudden, this person got saved. And then this person got saved. And I remember seeing this, and I was like, oh, that guy he's actually a Christian now, okay? And we knew what it meant to be a Christian, right? But we weren't ready. We weren't ready to stop sinning. And on, and all of a sudden, people started to get saved, and then I got saved, right? And I remember that night, just sitting there, and Bond was teaching. I don't remember a word he said, but there was just these words in my head, and I didn't want them to be there, but it kept saying, I love you, and I died for you. And so that's when I came to know Jesus. And I think I was like 15 or 16 at the time. And it was so real, and it was such a serious decision, And I remember that night because the bad kids were like, hey, come over, we're gonna go do bad things. And I was like, no, I'm done, right? And it was crazy because during that time it was so phenomenal because we didn't realize what was happening. But there was a small revival taking place in Santee. About 40 or 50 of us ended up getting saved. A lot of them are now pastors in Calvary Chapel. A lot of them are serving in churches. Missionary work. It's just crazy what the Lord has done during that time. And we had no idea, but it was so wild because we wanted to meet all the time, and we were young. We didn't have jobs really, so we wanted Monday night prayer, and we wanted Tuesday, Old Testament Bible study, and Wednesday New Testament Bible study, and Thursday we wanted a question. We did a Q&A because we had so many questions. What is I remember this lady saying, what is a snodgrass? And we're like, snodgrass? Synagogue? It's a synagogue. Like, you don't know synagogue. But yeah, what is a synagogue, right? And we had so many questions. When we read stuff in the Bible, we took it so literal that it was almost scary sometimes. We were like, I don't want to get my name, we had bad doctrine because we didn't know. We just read it, but we didn't have the whole counsel of the word yet. We're brand new Christians. And so we're, what does this mean? I don't want to lose my salvation, And and Vaughn was there, helping us, and some other pastors and other adults that came into play, and it was just a phenomenal time where we just studied God's word together. Can you imagine a bunch of teenagers studying God's word together, going out and preaching the gospel? We thought that was normal until we started going to other churches, and we're like, oh wait, you guys, okay, and they looked at us like we're crazy, because all we wanted to do was like hang out and read the Bible and preach the gospel and do all these things, And so later on, I looked back and realized that the Lord did something.